Ta-da. So welcome online and welcome in person. This is brand new material. So how many of you have read the Mind Trip game? Or you know about it? You read it? Yeah? So this is book number 2. So if you've read that one and you know me well enough, you know some of the tools, but this is going to be taking the tools to the next level, and it's a whole brand new format. So how many of you have played games in your life? What games do you like the best?
Like board game?
Board games or online games?
My favorite board game has to be Monopoly.
Monopoly?
Uh-huh.
Do you like my car?
I do.
Okay, best board game, best online game?
Probably, I don't know.
Minecraft? Did you ever play
I
Minecraft?
did. Probably GTA, I would say though.
Okay. All right. GTA, Grand Theft Auto. All right. What about you, Brooke? Board game first?
Tic-tac-toe.
Okay. Online game, any?
Tic-tac-toe, you play online.
Oh, so then that's not the board game. So you play tic-tac-toe online?
Yeah,
It's like real quick, huh?
yeah.
Okay. Do you play any board games? I know you did when you were a
Monopoly
kid.
sometimes.
All right, Monopoly.
Yeah.
What about you, Kyle?
Uno.
Uno? Okay. Any online? Stock trading? That's a big game. What about you guys online? What kind of games do you play?
I played Clue as my board game
Okay.
and online stocks because I don't really play online games.
Kyle, you got a partner over here. Kyle plays online stocks too. It's a good game. All right, what about you, Miss Vamos?
When I was young, I played Clue and Monopoly and some other games. I've never gotten into video games.
Okay. Brandy?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I don't do video games. I love Monopoly and I like sorry. What is it? One the other gentleman just
Clue?
no, not Clue. Oh God, what is it?
Uno?
Uno, thank you.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. What about you, Carol?
It's been ages, but chess, been
Mm.
in it a long time, and cribbage for card and board game.
So interestingly enough, chess, I did a whole podcast with chess. You know, chess is one of those things. So in life, here we are in the moment, right? And chess is one of those games that you have to see ahead of time where you're going to do whatever you're going to do. And you want to literally look well ahead of time at the different possibilities for the moves. So all of you with the games that you played, I think you're going to appreciate where we're about to go with this.
Okay.
So I want to start by saying kudos, kudos, kudos for showing up. I mean, seriously. Obviously, it's a small group at the moment, and I don't know what it is, but there are a lot of people struggling right now. And it's really important to get, you don't need to struggle so hard, which is why I put this into a game format like I did. So as you see there, it says information equals power. Information about yourself is empowerment. Everything that you're going to do here is to empower yourselves, but we're going to do it in a real fun way. And again, this slide as well, those people who develop the ability to continuously acquire new and better forms of knowledge that they can apply to their work and to their lives will be the movers and shakers in our society for the indefinite future. So I have this little granddaughter that I babysat on Saturday, and this little girl was telling me something or another, and I looked at her and I was like, Dakota, because she was like, well, I know this and I know that. Like she knew everything. And I looked at her and I said, Dakota, do you think you know everything about all that? Well, yeah. And she's 6. And I was like, "Honey," I looked at her and I said, there is always room to grow. I'm 63 and I'm still learning and I'm still growing. And that's why my life is as good as it is. And she looked at me, and here's a 6-year-old, and it's the first time in her life that she's like realizing, oh, I'm not the smartest thing on the planet and know everything. And she, really, I had her spend the night that night, and she literally said to me a few other times, she goes, I guess I don't know everything. And it was really kind of cute, but it was, I mean, it was fun because I think we have in our minds that we get into our homeostasis and we know what we know and we just move along as we move along. So when you're about to do what we're going to do here, it's really important to open up to where we're unaware that we're unaware. And many of you know my stuff. We've been together in some way, shape, or form. Be open to what you haven't heard yet or what you've heard in a new way. Okay. Oh, Miss Shaha exited, and now I got to let her back in here. Okay. So it's go time. And as you see, Monopoly, I put this together in a way where it is literally a game board. So there's a game board and there's a game car. And the car represents your body. So I want you guys to think about your favorite car. It can be any car, it can be anything with four wheels that moves. And get that picture in your head. Who wants to tell me what their car is? Caden?
Porsche 992 GT3 RS.
Of course it is Grand Theft Auto. Kyle, what's yours? So you're gonna have a good one too.
Urus.
A what?
Urus.
A Urus? I don't even know what that is. It must be very nice.
SUV. It's a Lamborghini.
Oh, and a Lamborghini SUV? Of course, I get it. I have a convertible Rolls-Royce baby blue with a white interior. What about you?
Rolls Royce would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool, yeah.
Uh-huh. What's yours?
I like that or a Tesla.
My Tesla runs smooth. So what have you guys got? What are you going to make your car out to be?
I have an Audi
Okay, you got an Audi?
R8,
Okay.
an Audi.
Sherry?
One of these small classic BMWs.
Okay, nice and compact.
Yeah.
Okay, Carol?
My 1981 Fiat Sky Blue.
Oh, you still have that thing?
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
will never get rid of it. It's my
No,
soul.
it's your
It's my
soul. I
spirit.
know, I remember. It's
Yeah.
crazy to remember everything. I knew her 100 years ago. I still remember these things. Brandy, what's your car?
A Land Rover.
Okay, nice and practical and good. Okay, now that you know what you're driving, we're going to move forward with your game piece. And the important part to know is you've got these different drivers. So when we say it was that energy powered car, that's the number one driver. That's the energy that flows through you, as you, all the time. That's the first part of you. That's the greatest part of you. Somebody coming in? So that's the number one driver. And that's not what we're going to get into a lot today. That's his client. So then the second driver is the adult in the front seat. That's the one that's being logical, reasonable. That's the one that I'm talking to right now. We're all present as the adult. And he has a voice. So we're going to shut the door because he talks really loud. You ever seen how big he is? He's like ginormous. His voice is just as ginormous. We have Stephen Palmer who works with us, and he is having a session and he got a big voice, so we had to shut the door. And so then that's the person who is mostly present. That's the one that's intentional, etc. Then we have the kid in the back seat. That's the one that we're going to get into tonight. That's the one that has the feels. So when you know you're in the front seat and you're the driver, here's my mouse. This is what it looks like. You're confident, you're owning your stuff, everything's good, life is great. This is kind of what it looks like when you're the kid in the back seat. You get all those feelings going on. And it's important to recognize as we get into the controller, the kid in the back seat usually takes on all of the programs that we run from 0 to 8. And so when you're taking on those programs, then you're living the life experience and you're creating experiences. So as you're moving forward, these things are going to come into play. And none of you picked that car, right? So getting back to the game controller. So those of you that don't play online games, you have a controller for your TV that you know how to work, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to get a little bit into this now, but a lot into it later. So when you have the controller of you, it's the thing that makes everything happen. Like you can't play those online games unless you've got that controller in your hand and you're working it. At least at this point, Elon Musk might change those things. And then when you're watching TV and you're looking at what program you want to go to, you've got to use this thing and push those buttons to make everything happen, right? So when you're using that controller, that is everything about you. So keep that on the back burner. And now we're going to jump headfirst into the game board. Are you ready? Ta-da. So when you're looking at the game board, the first thing you're doing is you're having that starting point. You're going over to the clue list. Who said they like to play Clue?
Me.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a fun. Then you're
It
going
is.
up to your call to duty. You're moving over to the mind games and then up to where life is good. So we're going to start at the starting point. And this is where you're going to pull out your notebook and your pen and paper. So many times in session, I will ask my clients what they want. And I got to tell you, a lot of times they look at me and they have no idea. So I have to bring it back to, do you just want to be happy? Well, yeah. All right, we can land there. But tonight I want you guys to get specific. We just started a new year, and I want you to think expansively and think about the first intention, which would be your love. So that would be your love of self, and then the relationships in your life. So if that love of self, what do you want to do to love you more? So put down some intentions where you can love yourself more. Then if you're looking for like a new relationship, it could be an intention to have a new relationship or to have the relationship that you're in be better. So we'll start with the love first. So take a minute and write that down. And it could be relationships with family, could be anything. And even if you think that it's something that isn't attainable right now, write it down anyway. When you're looking at this as well, when you're writing down your intentions, sometimes when we feel like a bit of resistance, you want to look at that resistance. Like we can say for having a relationship, there could be this like resistance, like, I don't think I can get what I want. Look at the resistance and look at what that would mean and write a couple of words next to it. Or if it's something about loving yourself, write down what the resistance would be. You know, a lot of times my people come in and they don't love themselves because of something that happened in the history. So if there's something about yourself that you're not loving, make a little note on the side of it. Okay. So you can go back to this at another point. So now the next thing that you're going to make on your intentions, these are the four corners of your life. So the second thing that you're going to write down is your health. That's a big one for a lot of people right now. So what are your intentions with regard to your health? Have you been doing all the various things that we do to keep our body healthy and energetic and in good standing? Could be that you want to maybe do some more exercise. You want to eat healthier. You want to not be doing things as much. Okay, then for the next corner of your life, your success abundance. So that can be anything. It doesn't have to be like your work where you're bringing in money. Where are you owning your success in life? It could be that you're volunteering somewhere. It could be that you are doing something of service in the world. It could be, you're creating in your element somehow. So the things that you do that are bringing about that abundance in your life and you're feeling successful in life. Brooke, are you still in school?
No, not
Okay.
anymore. I graduated 2 years ago from college.
Okay. And what are you doing at the moment?
I'm unemployed right now.
So you have fun with the success and abundance part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And you're in school. You're leaving?
I didn't finish my apps for this. For going into this the fall semester, but I'm gonna apply to go in starting in 2027.
Okay. So we get you here a little longer,
Yeah.
huh? Okay. Well, this is gonna be fun for you.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Then on to the last corner of your life. What do you want to do to just be happier, to be more joyful, to bring in more, light in your life, bring in more fun? Something. And it could be anything. Just doing this is an element of that. This is definitely going to bring in a lot more light in your life. Okay. So you can add to this. And what I highly recommend doing, take that and however you want to do it, put it somewhere where you look at it on a regular basis. Put it maybe, sometimes I used to take things and put them in my cabinets. Like if you have a medicine cabinet, you can open the medicine cabinet and you can see that in the morning or wherever it is that you'll see it on a fairly regular basis. It's a subconscious subtle reminder. Okay. So then you have your intention set. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. Then you wait for it because it's going to happen. And you're going to hit that first box, clueless. And when you're in that clueless box, that's where you're being the kid in the back seat. And that's where all of those wonderful feelings. So you have difficult, painful feelings, unintentional problems, excessive challenges, too much drama and trauma, and unconscious consequences. So when you're looking at all of this, it's super important. You're not judging anything. You're just looking at your life at the moment. It's just a snapshot. And I mean, sometimes I use myself as an example. I have had many, many unconscious consequences in my life, unintentional problems, and a lot of trauma and drama. So when you're looking at all of this, it's so that you can recognize it, because in this box, it's where you're recognizing where you've been unaware that you're unaware. So when you're looking at your life in the snapshot of a moment, there's that part of it where you're just simply in this moment of where your consciousness has been, your thinking, the controller. So where your controller has been, that brings you to this moment. So if there's things that are going on that you don't like, that aren't working for you, the good news is when you take the moment to look at it and recognize it, then you're going to be able to change it. A lot of times people are like, I don't want to look at the shit. I want to put it over there and not deal with it. And then the kid in the back seat's driving all the time. So when you're able to be with these feelings like these, those are every single time the kid in the back seat. Every single time, that's when you're in the game board and you're stuck in clueless. You're not rolling forward. So the trick with the game is you want to pay attention when these kind of feelings are going on. And sometimes it's a hard thing to do because they don't feel good and we've never learned how to deal with them. It's crazy how many times, I mean, I'm just going to give an example. Nick and I did a house clearing today. You know, we go and he and I go into homes and we energetically cleanse houses. So we go into Brentwood today and it was like an amazing house. And as we're going through it, it's like everything was perfect. I'm telling you, they had all these white couches and not one single spot on any of the couches. And it was all very perfect. And the person who owned the house was like, you know, everything was lovely and wonderful. And then we start looking at everything and it's a disaster. I mean, I'm not going to go into the details. So rather than dealing with the feelings and the stuff that's going on, people have a tendency to suppress it. And let's just make sure everything looks really good and seems really good and it's fabulous. And we'll just, you know, shove the other stuff out of the way, which doesn't make it go away. It makes it where then you have unconscious consequences, which were going on, and all of the other things that are happening. So when you're able to address the feelings and you're able to look at them, then you're going to be using the feelings to go around the game board. So the other part of feelings, and some of you have heard this, and again, this is one of those things that you just really have to lock and load. When all of those feelings are going on, your heart is the most important thing. Your heart has a little brain in it. And when those feelings are going on, this is what you're creating in your life. So those feelings are creating excessive amounts of adrenaline and cortisol, stress hormones. Everything's tight, everything's rigid. The energy leaves the center of the body. It goes into the fight, flight, freeze. And most importantly, we're not thinking clearly. So when you're using that place on the board and you're recognizing I've got these feelings, then you're able to change it over and you're able to do something different with them. So this is another introspective moment. I want you guys to think about what are the feelings that you have most that would be along these lines. And on your piece of paper, I want you to write down at least one. Another thing, I had somebody else the other day, and this is super important. This person, we were talking and we're having all this conversation, and I was like, where do you feel anger? And she was like, I don't get angry.
Wow.
I was like, you never get angry? No, I just manage it. I just get calm. I just manage it. I was like, so you're never angry. And then we get to talking more, and she doesn't like conflict. She doesn't like dealing with people. So she doesn't get angry because she suppresses the anger. And let's just say she comes in and she's got a lot of challenges that are going on. And in the conversation, we start looking at everything. And when you're suppressing your anger rather than expressing it, your body starts having things, your life starts happening in a certain way, and things go from bad to worse. So when you're able to recognize where you're feeling the feeling in your body, that's a big, big step for a lot of people because we have been trained as a society to suppress our feelings. So did you write down your feelings? The ones you feel the most? No. Why do you think I had you sit right next to me? I love you. So did you write down your feelings? Nod your head yes. Okay, now I want you to pay attention, and I don't want you to go overboard with it, but I want you to think about where do you feel those feelings in your body? Like, where do you feel maybe anger? A lot of people say they feel their anger in the pit of their stomach. They feel it, they'll tense up their hands. They feel it in their shoulders. Sometimes they feel it in their chest. So whatever the feeling was that you're feeling, think about where you feel it in your body. Did you think of it?
Yeah.
Anybody want to tell me where they feel whatever in their body?
Their shoulders.
Yeah.
What's the feeling?
Apathy.
Apathy? That's a huge one. Kudos for recognizing it. He said apathy. Apathy for your age group is huge. And it's unfortunate. Apathy is like one of those very, very challenging ones. And honestly, it's kind of right next to depression. So kudos. And by the time we're done with these 4 weeks, that feeling is going to be a lot different. Anybody else want to say where?
I feel anxiety and overwhelm in my stomach, pit of the stomach person.
Okay, good to know. And we're going to be dealing with that in the next box that comes up. Anybody else? Carol?
I feel I'm talking about it. I'm realizing I carry it in my shoulders, and being retired, everything that's going on has me going, just really stressed out. You're sitting there wondering, is your Social Security check going to come in this month? And that's been going on for a year. So.
So we're going to address that in the next box as well. Malia, did you want to share too?
Um, so I feel unnerved in my shoulders when I get like when I start to just everything starts to wear on my nerves, and aggression in like the top of my chest, like the where your upper heart is.
Mhm.
I get really, really tight pressure when I start feeling aggressive.
Okay. I totally understand those. And the thing with the shoulders, for
Yeah.
the longest time, I felt like a camel with a hump in my back. Like I would carry so much stuff back there. And,
Mhm.
it's good to recognize these things. So
Yeah.
when you're recognizing where you're feeling the feeling in your body, it's important to get that because a lot of times we'll have our controller rolling. We'll have our mind rolling for hours in anxiety. And it's like, oh, what if, oh my God. And it'll be rolling and we don't catch it because we're just in it. So when you start paying attention to the feelings in your body and so your whole homework, by the way, this week, the majority of your homework, and I'm going to ask you to do, is simply pay attention to the feelings in your body. Feel when you're apathetic, feel when you're angry. And by the way, for apathy, I want you angry. I want you to move up to angry. And there's a reason for it. When you see this list of feelings here, you see depression and grief is at the bottom. And it's not in order per se, but apathy is very close to depression. So the next place to go to in the feelings when we're apathetic is rage and anger, but more constructive anger, constructive rage, rather than destructive. And anger, just to be clear, that anger and why I want people to get angry, anger rides both sides. So these are the feelings that are like your fear feelings, false evidence appearing real, the kid in the back seat. So when we're in those feelings, obviously we're not thinking clearly, we've got all that going on. When we're over here and we're at the base of it, calm, all the way up to love and appreciation, that's when we're in our power. That's when we're greatly creative. But when anger is rolling, there's two versions of anger. And in particular, Caden, when we're in victim anger, that's not creative. That's not a great place to be. It's a great place to look at, why would I be here? What's going on? And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But anger is also over here on this side, and it's righteous anger. So there's a part where we have every right to be angry, and what are we going to do about it? So when I'm asking people to get angry, I want you to get righteously angry instead of a victim angry. Because righteous anger will be like lighting a fire beneath you and giving you that ability to motivate yourself and to propel yourself forward. So be very clear when you're angry what that looks like. And if you are in a victim mode at all, then there's something that you can do with it. So that's the clueless box. So your whole work this week is going to be to start paying attention to those feelings and catching them when they go on, and catching when you're being the kid in the back seat. And to be clear, the kid in the back seat also is that part of us that's innocent, that's fun, that's spontaneous, that's, got a lot of the good stuff going on, but it's also the one that has those feels. So it's not all bad, the kid in the back seat. They're a lot of time having a good time back there. So when you're looking at the call to duty, and I forgot to put these two little things. Who knows what those two words are that didn't get in with the animations? Come on, you guys know.
Calm support.
Yeah. I looked at it as I was sitting here. I was like, I didn't do that. All right. So when you're in this space of a call to duty, and I like to address anger in this one, I mean, not anger, anxiety in this one in particular, because it's such a big deal. Does everybody get anxiety at this moment? It's a pretty common one right now. Do you ever get it? Yeah. I mean, it's very, very common,
Well-
especially because there's so many things that are going on that are just like, what's going on? What's going to happen? So when we have anxiety, when you're here and you've got the feeling, so now you've moved up the game board to this call to duty. So the first thing that you do is you stop the car at the stop sign. So you're looking at it, you're feeling that feeling in your heart, and you do anything and everything to bring an element of calm, because that's where you're thinking more clearly. So a good way to bring about calm is just simply in the breath. Every breath that you breathe, your body has a natural ability to calm down. So you get as calm as possible, and you communicate with yourself or with someone else. And that communication, that's going to come up in the next box when we have the tools. The next thing that you do is maybe you take a new action. I'll give you an example of this. Sometimes when I'm around a large group of people, I get a little overwhelmed. I'm somewhat of an introvert, believe it or not, and I get a little overly stimulated, let's just say. And so I'll choose a new action. Like if it's something here, I'll lock myself in my office for a few minutes and calm down. So you just do something different. You take a new action, whatever it is. So you recognize this isn't working. I've got to go and do something else. Then the next one that you're looking at is the R. Maybe you just need to release it and let it go. It's not your business. So sometimes when things are going on, we get attached to other people's business. We get attached to other stories. We get attached to things that aren't happening in the very moment. And then there's this last part of it where you're getting support. And a huge one is focusing on solutions. So when we're looking at anxiety, the anxiety and the other part of it, that communication, this is probably one of the most important things I'm going to say today. And you'll see it when we get into the controller part. That communication part is where you are doing your critical thinking. So I'm going to use, Carol, can I use you as an example?
Sure.
Okay. And by the way, this is wildly common. So there's this moment where we're having anxiety and we're looking at, oh my God, this new administration has come in. and I've just retired and they're jacking around with everybody's retirement. I don't know what the finances are going to look like. And there's a part of it where you said this has been going on for like a year, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so when you're in that moment and you're feeling that anxiety and the thing is happening where you're recognizing this is my thought, I'm worried about the finances. That's when you start in the communication, you're questioning yourself. So you're literally stopping yourself, you're stopping the car, and you're saying, is this true? So in the moment, it's not true, right? You don't know, you're still getting your checks, everything's
Yeah.
fine. So in the moment, you can say, I don't know what they're going to be doing with the Social Security, but in the moment, what's the most important thing? The most important thing is for you to be calm and be in the moment. So when you're stopping the car at the top of the hill and addressing it and talking to yourself and checking, what is this thing that I'm doing? Am I imagining a future that I'm not sure about yet? Obviously, it hasn't happened for a year. It may never happen. There could be something wildly amazing that happens that make your finances even better. At
From
this
your
moment,
mouth to God's ears.
yes. And I gotta tell you, it is from my mouth to
Yeah.
God's ears because that's a part of the tools. When you're in the moment, and you're being creative. When you're over here, you're creative. When you're over here, you're creative. So I want you guys to look at those things that you have for your intentions. Can I use you as a little example? So Kyle had something that happened just a few weeks ago, and it was pretty catastrophic. And it was a big deal. And it was like, ah, man, I don't know what I'm going to do about all this stuff. And I told him in that moment, here you are, and yeah, it's not a great thing, but you're going to go through it and it's going to be all right. He came in today, you're pretty all right. And this happens, I can't even express to you all the time. I know another person who's in this group, I'm not going to talk about what the story is, but they had a health thing that was going on and they were wildly worried about it. And then it turned out where this thing is still all right. So in any of these moments, like for you, you're going to college and now you're backing it up. It could be that that's the best thing that ever happened. And you make it all right. And then you're looking at, what do I want to do from here to there? So instead of your mind going down the hill to hell and the emotions creating from that part, and you're down there and you're rolling around in the loop, you're stopping the car when the feelings start and you're being in the process of the CARS and you're checking it. And a big one with all of this. And I'm telling you, I know this administration that's come in, there's a lot of things that people are looking at where there are problems. And so there's a lot of focus on the problems. And there's a lot of things that are happening, believe it or not, that are solutions as well. And when we don't have a lot that we can actually do about it, when we feel from those problems, there we are. And in the reality of it, none of them have really happened to most of us at this point, correct? So when you're stopping yourself at the top of the hill, you're making yourself the most important thing, and you're being present in the moment with what you have going on. Does all this make sense? So when you're looking at the emotions that you're feeling, those critical thinking questions that you're asking yourself are literally the most important thing because you're questioning the kid in the back seat. So the kid in the back seat, the one that's anxious, the one that's apathetic, the one that's angry, the one that's sad. So when you're being the adult in the front seat and they're anxious, you're letting them know, I think we're good right now. I'm pretty sure we're good right now. And I'm driving and I'm going to make sure as much as I can that we're going to be okay. So we're going to trust that we're okay until we know otherwise. An example of this, my kids, when they first started driving, I would get massively anxious because, people are crazy out on the road, right? You know this one, we talked about it. And I would get anxious about it. And then I kept having to be like, no, I can't go there. I can't do that. So I'm going to trust and know that they are fine until I know otherwise. And they're all still fine, you know? So anxiety is one of those ones almost every single time. Anxiety is imagining a future that is not actually
Mhm.
true. And that's the other question you can ask yourself. Is it true? Has it happened? You know, is this real? So you're asking yourself that question. You're being the adult and you're questioning the thing that's going on. The other questions you can ask is why, when, where, what, how, any of those questions so that you get to being in that answer and being the adult in the front seat. Is this making sense?
Well, yeah, can I add something to that?
Yes, please.
Because it's interesting because I very much come from that concept because the one thing that I've always asked myself is worrying going to change the outcome? Because I
Mhm.
don't know what the outcome is. Is actually worrying about it going to affect the actual outcome? And I know 99% of the time, what I'm feeling in that moment absolutely has no relevance on the reality of the outcome. So why don't I wait to experience these experiences when the outcome comes instead of making myself sick by worrying, making my like I'm the only person hurting me in that waiting period, going through those thoughts, mulling. So I just decided I'm not going to hurt me. I love me, and all that chaos does nothing for me, and it doesn't change the outcome because the outcome's still going to be what it is.
Right.
So that's helped me a lot. But I worked really hard to get that, to understand that the only person I was hurting, creating more chaos, creating sickness was me. And it was
Exactly.
self-induced. Yeah.
Curious question. How many of you worry? Do you worry? Do you worry, Brooke?
No.
Huh? Is worry something that comes into play?
No, it's more loops.
Okay.
I
Sometimes
do a little.
sometimes worry is a generational thing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes in certain cultures, it's like it's a big deal to worry. I worry. And that's a sign of love. I should worry.
Right.
One of
Right.
my
And that's the
sisters worried.
programming that I come
Yeah.
from. And so I didn't want to do it to myself. I'm like, this is not helping.
And so that's exactly the word. That's the program. So at that picture, when that kid's in the car, we take on programs about things like it's something that we're supposed to do. If I worry about you, it means I love you. And I'm always going to worry about you. But in reality, it's not good for you and it's not good for whoever or whatever we're worrying about. And we'll get into that at a later part. It's very creative in the quantum physics of life. So it's important at this point, when you're looking at this game piece here, this game board at the point, when you stop yourself and you do these things and you look at, am I focused on the problem? Yeah, probably. So then you can literally say, all right, well, what would be the solution? And then again, you go to the actions. What action can I take to make the solution happen? Like Kyle, when you had that big problem that happened, you put your attention on the actions, the solutions, you put them into effect, and here you came in tonight and the thing is cleared up, right? And that's a big deal. The other part of all of this, when you're in that moment, I didn't put it on this slide, but that little car, the red car, imagine a line coming straight out from there, and there's a road. So when you're stopping the car, you're continuing on the road of your intentions. So you don't get derailed and you're going somewhere else. You're continuing on with your intentions, whatever that is. So the other part of it you're looking at, does this feeling, does this thinking, does where I'm going match what my intentions are? Probably not. So it gives you all these different reasons to literally stop and check yourself and not go down the hill to hell. So when you do all of that, then you've stabilized yourself. And then you get to go to the next board. And that's the mind games. How many of you have ever played Minecraft? So this is from Minecraft, right? You see the similarity? So, Cal, you never played Minecraft? So in Minecraft, it's one of these games, my daughter played it all the time, and I was just asking about it today and what she got from it. So when you're in Minecraft and it's this online game, you're either in a creative space or you're in a survival space. But either way, you're in the game and you're making things happen. It's almost like a Sims game, I think, where you're the player and you're building things and you're making a whole, like Sim City or Sims. Nick used to play Sim City all the time, and he would go in there and he would build and he would make things happen. So in our own lives, we have the ability to be present in the moment and make whatever happen. So when you're in this part of the game, that's where you're being intentional and you're using the tools like mindfulness. Mindfulness for me is it's being mindful of your feelings first. So that's paying attention and your feelings come first. Then you're going and you're doing the fear into power tool. You're recognizing and you're looking at the problem and you're understanding it a little bit more. That's the fear side. And then you're understanding how to use your power, how to be intentional with what you're doing. That is the number one tool. And most of you know what that is. Some of you don't at this point. And then when that tool is happening, you're also using positive pondering with it. You're looking at your power statements that you're creating. And most importantly, you're looking at your timeline. So this is a moment where we're going to do another little bit of introspective work. I want you to take your paper and I want you to create a line like it would be a timeline of your life. And then whatever that feeling is that you started with, apathy, maybe anger, anxiety. And I want you to look at your timeline on, for a lot of us, those kind of feelings come back to that part of our life that's between the 0 and 8. And so you're looking at what happened back there when I was taking on my program. And you don't have to get real specific with it. You're just looking at, was anybody around me in these kind of feelings? Did my parents worry a lot? Did my parents have anxiety? When you're thinking about it like the car analogy, we were kids in the back seat of our parents' car. And I was just talking about anxiety with regard to, we don't come out anxious, but a lot of times when we're in a mother's womb and she's anxious, we know that feeling. And then we come into the world and we're in the back seat of an anxious mother's or father's car. We had siblings in the back seat and we start learning what these things are. You could look at apathy and look at maybe one of the parents in the front seat and get some, it's just information. So when you're looking at the timeline, number one, it is never ever to judge yourself or anybody else. Everybody's just playing by the rules that they learned. So when you are looking at the timeline, it's more to learn and understand. And we're just doing a little smidgen of it here right now. So you're looking at then in the 7, 8 range, we've taken on the program. Now we're moving into a more where we're being kind of adultish and you're figuring things out and you start looking at how many experiences have I had in my life where these feelings have been in play. And you don't have to get super specific about it, but you start looking at what has my life looked like with regard to this one emotion. And when you're looking at all of it, there's a moment that we're in right now where this is the choice point. And so when you're looking at it, all those feelings, and this is an important thing to look at, and I've literally never said this before. When we're here right now, like I look back at my life and all the drama and the trauma and the stuff, none of it matters. None of it matters. Literally, this is the only moment that matters. Like, for instance, when we have all that anxiety around something, it didn't matter. We didn't know that it didn't matter because we were unaware that we're unaware, and nobody ever taught us how to deal with anxiety. That's why this stuff is so important. So when you're looking at all of those feelings, the more that you understand and you come from being the adult and recognizing the feeling and working through the feeling and changing that pattern, changing that habit, it's almost like when you're in the stuff of it, here's the unconscious, and it's really a big swoop. And then the conscious, and we've got whatever good things going on. And we're on this roller coaster of life. And there's all of these hard feelings that go really like down the hill to hell. The more you do this work, instead of going down so far, you start catching it and you're not going as far. And you're starting to level out so that you are riding a much more even plane of life. And so when you're looking at the timeline, it doesn't matter what age we're at this point, when you're learning from these things, you're going to start creating those new waves for yourself where things are leveled out. I have a joke about this. Who rides like this? Anybody know?
Like hitmobiles?
They ride a very smooth line. The Dalai
talking-
Lama. The Dalai Lama. It's like this. Because somebody said, I think it was Reverend Michael one time, he was in a table with the people with the Dalai Lama, and somebody came up to the Dalai Lama and whispered in his ear and told him that one of his favorite friends or whoever had just passed away. And Reverend Michael could see this moment of grief go across his face, and then he just, he's got a good belief around death. He's got a good belief around these things in life. So what you're doing here is you're realigning your beliefs around things so that as you're going around the game board, instead of these things hitting so hard, you're learning from the experience, you're learning from your feelings, and you're learning new tools. So instead of crashing and burning and going down to rock bottom, you are dealing with it in a whole new way. So then you're looking at this next tool. This is a huge one. This is a very, very, very big one. And for those of you that have worked with me, you know, across the board, 99.9% of my clients that come in do not know how to constructively communicate. Like this person that I was talking about who doesn't get angry. Well, she doesn't get angry because she doesn't constructively communicate. She just leaves. I don't get into problems with people. Oh, why not? Well, because I just leave. Or I just suppress what I want to say and I don't say it. She's literally telling me this as she's dealing with these other big things that are coming about because she's not communicating and she's never learned how to own her word. So when we're suppressing our word, it shows up all over the place in your life. So as we're going and learning all of the rules of the road, this constructive communication is a big one. So for the week, homework, as you're feeling those feelings, and you look back at the previous slide and it says choosing calm and communicating. There is that part where we're communicating with ourselves, but there's also that part where we're communicating with somebody else. And are you doing it? So it's not to do anything this week, it's just to recognize how many times are you not saying what you want to say because you don't want to make the other person angry. You don't want to make the other person upset. You don't want to get into a conflict with somebody. So again, it's not to do anything about it, it's to make a note on it. What happened? What is this? Why wouldn't I say something? And then next week, we're going to get into this constructive communication because I'm telling you, when you change the way that you communicate with people and you really own your word in a strong way, in a powerful way, that alone massively changes your life. So you're looking at during the week, checking those feelings. Is this about somebody else? Did I say what I wanted to say in a way that they could hear me? Or the analogy that goes with it, and since we're in games, it's like soccer. People like to play soccer. People like to watch soccer. It's like when you're in an argument with somebody and there is this anger that's going and you're verbally getting into the game of soccer and you're bashing each other. I'm really angry and I'm really angry, and it gets into this whole thing. Both of you are in the same game. And a lot of times we choose to go into somebody else's soccer game. And the key, the trick with life is not to go into that soccer game and get into the bashing around and all that stuff that people do. And you want to stay in your own game, which could look like pickleball, could look like racquetball. And you want to invite them to come over and play a much more constructive game and something where both parties are finding a way to resolve it. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So that's going to be a little bit more of next week. Today is a little outline of the game itself. And by the way, if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. And then the victimization loop. So this is another moment for introspection. Sometimes we feel like the victim in life. And again, this is a very, very common one. So I want you to look at and be a little introspective here. Are there things going on where you feel like somebody else is doing whatever and you're not in charge, you're not in control, or you're at the effect of something or someone? And if you feel like that at all, maybe make a note. It can be very interesting how much of the time we are on the loop, somebody else is doing something and we're at the effect of it and not paying attention to it. So if you don't write anything now, this is another one to be open to looking at during the week. How many of you pray? Anybody? Did I see any
Yep.
hands up there? Yeah.
Yep.
So this is something that we're going to get into again later. These are the tools. And when we're looking at powerful prayer, it's not the usual kind of prayer. Like I used to, when I was a kid, I would go to Southern Baptist Church and I prayed all the time and my prayers were never answered. And I hit a moment where I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I literally renounced God. I renounced everything to the point where if I was reading a book that had the word God in it, I would slap it shut and be done. So when I'm talking about prayer, we're feeling all the time, and we've got the number one driver. That's that energy that flows in and as and through us all the time. And when we're praying, there's a part of it where you're recognizing that energy. You are tapping into that energy. That's who I am. That's the greatest part of us. And then the powerful part of it is you're focused on the solutions. So when you're doing that fear into power work and you're doing those power statements and you're writing those things down, and this is where I want to go, the prayer is, I know that I'm speaking into the law and I am creating what are those things? And so, like, for instance, an easy and simple prayer at the moment is for all of us, divine right action is taking place. The best and highest is happening for all of humanity. The best and highest is happening with regard to my schooling, regard to my home, regard to my job, Brooke, regard to all of the things that you guys are looking at, regard to my health, everything that you've got going on. When you're holding yourself in prayer, when you're holding humanity in prayer, believe it or not, that is wildly creative. And for those of you that are interested, you can go to heartmath.org. And there is a whole bunch of very interesting information about prayer and how powerful it can be. So when you're doing that, it's like you're on the road here now and you're creating those intentions. So imagine that your intention is in San Francisco. You've got your greatest school in San Francisco, your job's in San Francisco, all these great things that you're creating. Everything that we ever want, it's right there. So you have your intention set. So when you're holding yourself in prayer, you're literally being in that moment of focused awareness on it. You're holding those power statements on it. And then the next part of the prayer is, and I'm going to tell you a really quick story because it happened and it was flippin' amazing. I have a client who was out of work for 3 years. And this guy lost everything, like a lot of everything, and big deal stuff. And I'm telling you, his ego was on the floor and he wanted a job. And so I told him one day, you've got to imagine that your job is in San Francisco and you're on your 101 freeway and that's where you're going. And so you imagining it, because that's the next thing that comes up, I believe, here. Meditation and then creative visioning. So you're imagining these things that you're creating to happen, right? So this guy, I told him, you have to go from here up to San Francisco on your freeway, and you've got to know what you want. So he imagined that job, and he was a big deal kind of person, a seed something O. So it was like a big deal job. And I told him, I said, so as you're on the road, you're communicating with yourself all the time. So like, for an example, he was a little older, and instead of being like, I've got the job, he'd be like, oh, you know what? A lot of times they're hiring these younger guys. Well, he's been out of work for 3 years. Now, instead of going to San Francisco, he's gone to Bakersfield, and he has to learn something in Bakersfield, get his butt back on the road. So then he's got something else going on in his mind, and he's driven off to Lompoc. So you have to really put your attention on the intention that you're creating, and pay attention when you're feeling something's not working, or I'm feeling worried or anxious about it, or whatever those feelings are. So on this one particular day, I told him, I said, your job is already there. And when you put your foot on the gas of deep appreciation, that is the thing that's like putting rocket fuel and you're going there. So this guy looks at me and he goes, oh my God, I got it. I got the job. And I'm telling you, I watched him get the job. And then he said, oh, but a lot of times it's in another state. Swear to God, can't make this stuff up. He got a job in like 2 or 3 days in Texas. So when you are intentional about this, you're paying attention to your feelings. You're paying attention to those thoughts that are going on that are behind the feelings. You can easily create these things that you want. I've seen people do it all the time. But the trick is, what's happening with the kid in the back seat? So like with this guy, appreciation, I didn't write it on there, but it's huge. That in the positive feelings, those power feelings, makes things go a long way. Does anybody have any questions at this point?
You did, you gave a website and then your voice got sort of garbled online.
Heartmath.org.
What
It's
was it?
amazing. Heartmath.org.
Okay.
I want you guys to get something, how powerful your feelings are. So when I put that as the first game piece, your feelings, this company, this organization, heartmath.org, they've got this part of it. So imagine your heartbeat, right? Here's your heartbeat, and it's like the heartbeat, and then all these jagged things, and then your heartbeat again. So anger, heartbeat, and it's really jagged and it's really sharp, and then your heartbeat again. They're measuring the space between the beats. And for anger, the energy that you are feeling, and it goes and it talks to this quantum intelligence. That's how the guy got the job. That feeling that we have is also talking to 50 trillion cells. So when we're feeling anger, it goes to about 135 on the chart. So then you have the feeling of calm. Calm, here's your heartbeat, and it levels out a little bit more. And then you've got the heartbeat again. It still goes up to 135. energy that we're putting out, that we're feeling. And putting out is creative. We're living in a quantum intelligence. So when you have the feeling of appreciation, your heartbeat, and then it really smooths out, and you've got the heartbeat again. How many of you know what that number is that it goes up to? Somebody should know in this group. Anybody know?
135.
Nope.
135.
Nope. It goes up to 700.
Mm.
So when I told the guy, appreciate, that's what puts the rocket fuel on you. That's what got him the job. I watched him get the job. I felt him get the job. I was like, whoa, this guy's got it. And he literally got a job in Texas 2 or 3 days later. So when I'm talking about the different drivers in the car, that first driver is the number one driver. The adult in the front seat's the one who's navigating everything. It's bringing in the first driver. It's listening to the kid in the back seat that's got those feelings going on. So when you are using all three of your drivers and you are being intentional about it, you're paying attention to where your feelings are and you're working with those feelings. That's the main part of this game. A lot of times when people are suppressing the feelings, they're not going anywhere. I see it happen all the time. And people get stuck. They're not happy. They're not motivated. They're in all of these challenging feelings. So when you recognize you can do anything, I mean, literally, we are powerful beyond measure. But when we're not using our power and when we get stuck in that stuff, there you are. It just is what it is. So each time you're going around this game board and you are in this part where you're using these tools, I want you to see that when I created this picture like 100 years ago, when I first started all of this, and see how transformation has the heart. So the love. The reason why I use the caterpillar and the butterfly, all of us, in who we are, we have 50 trillion intelligent cells. Think about that. You have enough energy in your body to ignite a lot of things. We are powerful beyond measure, but we don't learn these things. And kind of honestly, what we do is we get distracted in life and we start looking at all these things like our cell phones that distract us. And we get caught up in the minutia of life. We get caught up in the illusion of the news. We get caught up in our stuff. So a lot of people, and this is maybe is going to sound harsh or whatever, a lot of people allow their homeostasis, what's normal. Your homeostasis is just what has been normal. They allow their homeostasis to be like they are a caterpillar, and they're just eating, they're just doing, they're just being, and they're not really experiencing a great joy in life. They're just on the road. And then we have the ability to create a cocoon. When the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, they literally have imaginal cells and they get rid of their whole caterpillar body and they create a whole other body. I mean, think about it. We have within ourselves imaginal cells. We have the ability. I see people do it all the time. They've been a caterpillar, nothing wrong with being a caterpillar. Then they start realizing, and when you're doing the work that I'm asking you to do, you start creating a cocoon for yourself and you start looking at the beliefs that you take on in life. You look at the scenarios, you look at all these things, and as you're in that introspective moment, you start transforming those beliefs, those ideas, those habits, those things that make you feel whatever lack of. And there comes a point where you are creating that ability to see things from a 360 degrees. So you're not just myopic, you are expansive. And it's important to get, we're all born with the ability to do that. So as you're going around the game board, those tools, that's where you're in the cocoon. That's where you're consciously conscious. That's where you're in that creative mode. You're in the processing mode. So then once you have done that, then you get to where life is good. And these are the feelings, these are the things that you're creating in that space. When I first learned all this game board, it was when I was at Agape and I was becoming a practitioner, and Reverend Michael was up there teaching it, and he was like showing them in boxes like this. And he says, so you're unconsciously unconscious. So then you move to the consciously unconscious. Then you're moving to the consciously conscious, and then you're unconsciously conscious. And I was in my stupid mode back then. And I was like, that's a lot. I don't even get it. Literally didn't. So then years later, I was teaching a group at my home, and I was like, let's look at that thing again. And I wrote the words down on one of those big pieces of paper. And I was like, you know what's interesting? Let's look at the first words of it. And by the way, this is where you're being the adult in the front seat. So when I looked at the first words of it, clueless, that's when we're unconsciously unconscious. We're unaware that we're unaware. We're in that caterpillar mode. So I looked at this group and I said, you know, let's just look at the first words of it. Let's just make it a little more simple. It's you. It's all about you. You're unconsciously unconscious. So then you move up to the call to duty where you see you. You're consciously unconscious. And that's where you're taking that time to really see, well, this is me. What am I doing here? Then you're moving over to the mind games, and that's where you're consciously conscious. And that's when you're in process. That's where you're doing the stuff and making it happen, changing those beliefs, changing understanding, looking at the timeline, gaining that wisdom. You know, you're in process so that you move up to where life is good. That's where you see. You're unconsciously conscious. You've changed the program. You don't even have to think about it anymore. So I want you to also during the week, look at anything that you've got issues with like sometimes people have addictions and they have these things. I really don't want to be doing this anymore. I want to stop doing it, but it seems really hard to stop. And there can be all kinds of addictions for that. There can be food addictions, gaming addictions, drink addictions, all kinds of addictions, addictions to the social media. So when you're looking at your week, look at those things that are stopping you from being the fullness of you. Is all that making sense?
Mhm.
What time is it? I talk fast, right?
Yeah.
So nobody has any questions at this point? Any comments?
Process.
Well, one of the things, sorry about that. Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead. No.
Okay. So I was going to say, one of the things that came up for me was one of the issues I know I've had, and that unnerve me is when people's self-talk is in the negative vibration, yet they want to manifest amazing things in their life, such as the example of, I want a job, but I'm too old and nobody's going to hire me. For example, just the fact that the moment we get in that conscious mode, that we're derailing ourselves by our own self-talk. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. Nobody's, saying that, but we're feeding ourselves that input. And we wonder why, talking about heart math, our hearts aren't in coherence. It's not in that ability to manifest the life that we're looking for. Gee, I wonder why.
Well, you got to remember something. It's quantum physics. It's literally when you are feeling whatever you're feeling, and there is a thought behind it. We're talking to a quantum intelligence. So, like as an example, I can't get the job. I used to be a practitioner at Agape, and I used to run a group there. And we had this game that we would play, and I would be God. It was fun. And then everybody would just start shouting stuff out like, I have a great life. Yes. My life's really screwed up. Yes. I can't get the job. Yes. I've got the most fabulous partner. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
The universe is always saying yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you're doing this process and you're checking your feelings first and you're recognizing, I'm feeling discouraged. It's like if you're looking at any avenue in your life, you're looking at those four corners. When I say that your consciousness is creating, if you don't have the friends that you want, your consciousness is creating. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
have the job or the career or the fun, whatever thing that you want to do, your consciousness is creating. If you don't have anything, it's always your consciousness creating. I've seen it in my own life for a long time, and I've witnessed it with my clients time and time and time again. That one guy was just one story. And then what happens is people come in and they're down here and they learn and they change it and they move over here, and life is a little bit better, right? So I use this analogy. It's like, here's the kid in the back seat, and here's the adult. So people come in and it's hard and they're right up against it and their life is just a lot. I mean, sometimes people come in with the incredible stories and then they learn this and they start changing and they get away from the ego. They feel better. They've changed some things and life is better. But there's a bungee cord in between, right? So
Right.
don't cut the cord and they have what's called a slapback. So then it's like, oh, I got to work harder on this thing. Maybe it's your career, maybe it's your friends, love life, whatever. And so they get away from it, they start creating more, but maybe they pick the wrong friends or the wrong career or whatever that is. Then it's like they go for another moment up against the ego. And then they do the process again. And there is a point where you get the underlying thing, the belief. Think of the word belief. In the middle of the word is the word lie. So what you're looking for
Right.
is the lies that we tell ourselves. When you change the lie to your truth, then you're cutting the cord and then you're never going to have that challenge again. But when we don't cut the cord and we have that slapback, I mean, sometimes it's like a big slapback because that bungee cord gets really tight and it gets where people come in and they're like, oh, it's really hard. And it's like, I know. And what are you thinking? And every single time their thoughts are on the problem, they're rolling around in the back seat with the kid. So when you are doing this process, you're being open to changing that program, open to what the possibilities are that life offers. Because, I mean, I've seen some pretty big things where people have had some major challenges. I mean, big, big things. And they turn it around and it's like a miracle. And I've seen many miracles. So the trick is you've got to know you're a miracle creator in your own self. I mean, the universe is flowing through you as you. You've got that literally as your source. So when you are using that and you're understanding the kid in the back seat and you're having those conversations that we're going to get to in the next little bit here about the kid in the back seat, then you're going to change everything. Does that make sense? Carol, did you want to say something before?
No, I don't think so.
Anybody else want to say anything? Well, we're moving faster than I thought. It's a good thing I put more slides in here to take it to the next. So I really like this picture, subconscious destructive thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Those are those thoughts that roll around. That's what the kid in the back seat is rolling. So you want to see what your controller is? This is the controller of you. So when I say that we all have our controller, this is your mind. it's everybody's mind. So you see at the bottom of it where it says the primitive area of your mind, that's where you have your fight, flight, freeze response. So that's that part of us that we're not thinking at all. We're just on an automatic pilot. If we're being attacked by somebody, we wouldn't think about it. We would just do whatever that is. Then the important part, they've got, look how big the mind script is. 90%, and that's being generous. For most people, it is 95%. So this is your controller. This is the thing that makes everything happen. So when you're looking at that unconscious, that's programmed. You're not in your choice unless you've changed the program and you've already got that rolling as an unconscious. So I want you to think about it. For most of us, we took on a big program in our 0 to 8. So when you were in your 0 to 8 in the back seat of the parent's car, you were in hypnosis. We were all in hypnosis, and we're just taking on this script about who we are, how we be, what we do, all of that stuff, and see how large it is. I mean, it's like, it is a ruler. So when you're looking at the thing that makes everything happen, and that part where it's like, I don't want this in my life, I'm not liking this is happening, it's all there. And here's the fun part. How you know you're rolling a mind script, a mind program, every time you have those fear feelings, it's always a program. So that's why the fear feelings, that's why those feelings are so important. They're going to show you your unconscious. You're going to show you what you're unaware of. Like as an example, I had somebody in the other day and she was having whatever issues with whatever. And I looked at her, I was like, oh, so you created this for that and whatever. And she looked at me, she goes, I never even thought of that. And she was like, that's what? It was like in that second, I showed her, I was a mirror for her and showed her one of the programs that she was rolling. And she was like, that alone was like, oh my God. So when you are in the process of this and you're up there in your little cocoon, you're looking for the negative programs that you've taken on, the things that no longer work for you. And then remember, I was talking before about the critical thinking, that tiny little area between the unconscious and the conscious. That is where you take on, between the ages of 8 and 9 years old, your ability to think for yourself, that ability to look at things with more introspection. You're able to perceive it in a different way. You're able to use that part of your brain as a filter. So when you're asking yourself the questions, when you're asking the kid in the back seat, why are we angry? What are we thinking about with this anxiety? Is it true? You're literally looking at the unconscious and bringing it up to a conscious realization. You're using that part of your controller to change what that program is and be more intentional and making conscious, intentional choices. This next slide.
I was going to say, can you repeat that again?
Which part?
Just the unconscious, conscious, just that last kind of
So
wrapping up.
when you're using your critical thinking, that's the biggest part for me in particular. When I'm talking about my controller, when I question things, that's where you're going to get the answers. A lot of times people never think to question. They're not questioning why they're angry. They're just angry and they're focused on the problem. And so did this, or the government's doing that, and all these things are going on and I don't like it. They're not questioning it. So they're literally climbing in the back seat with the kid and the kid's driving. So when you're being the adult and you're questioning, why am I angry? I'll give you an example of this. I had a moment not too long ago, and I always use a wooden spoon to stir my honey because I learned you should. And I kept stirring it with the same wooden spoon. And I kept thinking, I should get more wooden spoons. This is really ridiculous. I'm using the same wooden spoon all the time. Then one day I asked myself the question, and not even thinking about it, to be honest, but I asked myself the question. It's like, I wonder why I'm not getting a wooden spoon. Oh, shit. Oh, I know why I'm not getting a wooden spoon. If I were to go get a wooden spoon, I would have been beaten with that thing. Of course, I'm not going to go and get a new wooden spoon. So then I realized I still am rolling a program. I'm still holding in my heart what happened as a kid. And there's a part of that program where I'm still rolling what happened to me back there. So when you're doing the program of it, I'm asking that question. I got the answer. It's like, okay, so now I'm being the adult in the front seat and I don't want to roll that program anymore. You got to remember, your heart is literally the most important thing. I'll say this a million times in my lifetime. It has a brain in it. So as much as our brain, our mind has these neural pathways that we take on. And when we do this work and you're asking those questions, you're changing neural pathways, you're changing your mind, you're changing the controller. So it's also about your heart has a brain in it as well. It's a little grouping of neurons in your heart that's a little brain in there. So when I'm asking the question, my little brain in there was like, of course. And I'm holding on to that. It's like it's in your trunk, if you're thinking about the car
Mhm.
analogy. So I don't want to hold on to that anymore. Now I'm aware of what I have been unaware of. I've taken that unconscious, I brought it to the surface. So I'm going to be the adult, and I marched myself off to the beach and I sat down on the beach. And this is the process. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but this is what you do. So I'm going to be the adult. And I had a conversation with little Audie, the one that was at the effect of that wooden spoon. And I looked at her and I was like, I had a conversation with her and I told her that was never about you. Your mother didn't know how to hold her rage. She didn't know how to manage her rage, her anger. And we made it about us, like it was about us, like we weren't valuable, we weren't worthy, we were bad, we were wrong. So I'm being the adult and I'm nurturing her and I'm letting her know that I'm driving now and that's never going to happen again. And we're okay. And we're dumping that out of the trunk. I don't want to hold it in my heart anymore. And I sobbed for like 3 minutes. And then it was dumped. I was done with it. And there came a lightness of the being, my being. So when we're doing this process, we're continually looking at what is clogging up the heart. And more importantly, what do I do to dump it? Does all that make sense? So when you're
Yep.
in your critical thinking, you're asking the ego, what is this? Why are we feeling like this? What's going on? And we're being compassionate rather than judgmental. Does that answer that?
Yep. Yep.
So there's all these ways that we take on these unconscious beliefs. And I showed this program because I was watching it when I created this a couple of years ago, and my granddaughter was watching this movie, and I was like, oh my gosh, all of this programming these messages that we take on through 0 to 8, I mean, the movies that they do, commercials, TV shows, schools, even churches, we take on programs all over the place about what we believe in life. And they're all programs. And sometimes they're great programs and we're very successful and happy and abundant and all those things. But sometimes you've got to recognize what the programs are that we're rolling. And in the time that I've been working with clients, these are very, very common things that I see happening all the time. I mean, people say these things all the time. And none of it is true. It's all a program.
Mhm.
So the next slide is my program. These are letters that my mother wrote to my father when he was in Vietnam. So when I talk about I took on a program about various things, the program that I rolled for a very long time was I was stupid, not very smart, the dumb one. And people would tell me, Audrey, you're intelligent. I'd be like, no, but I'm cute sometimes. And so I'm rolling this program. So in my unconscious mind, I didn't even think about it. When I started at Agape, they would say, you're intelligent. Be like, not really. street smarts, but no, I'm not that smart. And then when I went through the Hypnotherapy Institute and I'm studying all the mind and all of that stuff, I still was rolling a program where it's like, I can succeed in life, I can do things, but no, I'm not really that smart. And then one day I was studying Greg Braden and he was talking about intelligence. And it was like, oh shit, my mother. I took on a program because she thought I was stupid and she's saying all that stuff and I believed it because what else are you going to do? So
Mhm.
once I understood what intelligence is, that's the first driver. And we're all intelligent and we're all gifted and magical in our own ways. So again, once I had that realization that I wasn't stupid, because I'm telling you, I rolled a very big stupid program. And then I had that magical day. And again, I'm talking to the little Audie in the back seat and I'm letting her know, Mom, she thought you were stupid. She thought we were stupid. She didn't know. And actually, we're highly intelligent. So that's why I can put together this whole PowerPoint. That's why I can do what I do. I changed the program so people who don't know how to own their intelligence, don't know what their controller is, don't know how to manage their feelings or learn from them or deal with them, I'm able to take that big information that I know and bring it into a very user-friendly format. So I'm not judging my mother. I'm not judging the experience. I'm understanding I had that experience so that I can do what I do. And I love what I do. So it's really important to be open to where you're learning what your program is, what the beliefs are, and more importantly, how you go about the business of changing them. So it's almost like the unconscious is the black. And people, I had a friend of mine, I always get sick in the winter. She'll come to visit us and say, I always get sick in the winter. And I looked at her and I was like, you say that and your body's listening and you get sick every winter. She goes,
Mhm.
I didn't even think about that. Now she doesn't get sick in the winter anymore. You know, she got that she's rolling this program. I never have good luck. Life is hard. Nothing ever really changes. And the universe is saying yes. I can't feel good about myself without other people's approval. Yeah. I mean, the universe is always saying yes. So when you are doing this process, it's like you're a Fisher person, right? And you're looking for your beliefs. You're looking for those things you say to what yourself. And you're starting to change it to, I'm intelligent. I choose to be self-motivated, that I get things done on time. I manage my responsibilities. So your homework for the week, or whatever you want to call it if you don't like the word homework, is to pay attention to those feelings and look at what it is that what you're thinking behind it. You know, for people who are single who can't get a relationship rolling, a lot of times that's a belief about the other party that they would like to be men or whatever, women or whatever, or I'm whatever, or I think I'm better off alone. I don't want to be hurt, whatever the things that people get into in their mind. So whatever those corners are that you put down your intentions, when you feel the resistance, look and see what the unconscious is behind them. Is all this making sense? So when I went to Agape, Ernest Holmes was the teacher. And so when you're looking at those beliefs that you have, you're asking yourself, is this my belief? Or is this something that I picked up along the way from parents, from all those different sources that you can look at?
Mhm.
Okay. I like it when I see you guys writing.
Pages.
That's good. You're already in your little cocoon. So part of your job is as you're moving forward, Are you literally looking out the window of the front seat? Or are you looking at the mirror that's in the, the rear view mirror? And not paying attention to where you're at and where you're going? Or sometimes when you're looking in the little mirror over the side like that, where things are distorted. So as you're driving, and I know you love to drive now, right? When you're in the driver's seat and you're being the adult and you're looking out the actual windshield and you're in the moment, that's the optimal place to be. Definitely sometimes it's good to look in the rear view mirror when you're doing that, timeline work and you're understanding why am I here and not exactly where I want to go. But it's very important to get when you're looking at the past and it's distorted. Sometimes we're looking at our history and it's not exactly what happened. We have a different perception of it. So those are important things to look at.
What was it that you had up there where it said practically the whole human race is
That's
hypnotized?
a quote that I love by Ernest Holmes.
Hypnotized because it thinks what somebody else told it to think. Mm.
I really want you guys to understand something. And one thing that we're not going to do in this at all is get political. All right, I'm not going to go there. But I want everybody to be very clear on something. When you're in the moment and you're feeling feelings that you're feeling like anger or fear or anxiety about something that you're watching on whatever kind of news, it's important to get much of the news that is out there is not accurate. I look at a lot of different news. I watch what happens in Senate. I watch what happens in the Congress. I watch all kinds of things that are going on. And I'm not in judgment of any of it. I don't latch on to any of it. And I stay very neutral in my feelings. And if I do have a moment where I'm getting angry, I'm really paying attention, and this is key. You want to pay attention if you're feeling angry, is it you're feeling as a victim in the circumstances? If you're feeling like a victim in the circumstances from watching any kind of news, it might be a manipulation.
Mhm.
And it just is what it is. So you want to move it over to a righteous anger. And it's super important right now to really get, if it causes you any of those feelings as you're watching the news and you can't move it over to righteous anger, stop watching the news. I'm going to give you an example. When a while ago, and you know what, Carol, this is along your lines as well. Back when this new administration came in, I had a client who was wildly upset because his life was going to look like whatever.
Yeah.
Because he heard on the news, oh my gosh, you know what, they might come after somebody like me. And I said, I'm not sure that that's going to happen. And he's a client of mine, so I helped him to resolve it within his own mind, and he got a better view of it. It was whatever. And then lo and behold, nothing ever happened from it. Like nothing ever happened from it. So it's super important to get, we're all creative. And there's different factions of
Yeah.
people out there, different parts of whatever you want to say, the administration, the organizations, the different people, all this stuff that's going on. And when we're in fear that something could happen, we're creating them in that quantum intelligence, and we're not creating from our power. We're creating from a place of fear where those things actually can come about. It's like we're playing for the soccer team. So if you're watching anything that creates those kind of elements for you, I mean, has it happened? Are you sure it's going to happen? You're asking yourself those questions, and you're looking at your own life. you're looking at, well, how am I? Am I fine? Yeah, I'm fine now, and I'm going to continue to be fine until I know otherwise. And I'm going to hold in my prayers. This is what I do. I look at all that news, and I'm literally in my mind saying, I'm holding the highest that divine right action is taking place for all of humanity, that the best and highest is happening for our city, our state, our country, and the globe. So I'm holding in the highest that people are going to be able to eat. People are going to be able to manage their finances, that we are creating from a new place of abundance. And then to be clear, I'm looking at a lot of news where those things are happening. And there's all these different timelines that are possible. I'm locked and loaded on the timelines that I see where people are abundant in all ways. Does this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's important in the moment to recognize we're wildly creative. And if you're creating for yourself first from that place, then that's great. You're holding that light, you're holding your power. And then you're holding your family in the highest, you're holding your friends in the highest, and you're being that source for humanity. I can't express enough when people go into fear and they are in that mode, remember, you're not thinking clearly. So when we're in fear and they start saying you should do whatever, and then people start getting themselves killed in that position of fear, that's manipulation. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be sticking up for people or doing whatever those things are, but you really want to watch, are you being manipulated or not? And that's important for you to be aware of, because it's a very, very interesting and important time right now. So these are things to literally pay attention to. Do you all have concerns about what's going on right now? What are your concerns?
Like politically wise,
Mm-hmm.
just how like the people are gonna react. I mean, especially like what happened in Minnesota or
Mhm.
Minneapolis. Like, I think those are two cases of, not to get political, murder.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if that's just gonna keep happening, the people are gonna do something, and I think it's just everything's just gonna pile on top of each other.
So that is a timeline. And then there is another timeline where people are understanding. It's like we don't have the riots that we used to have back here. I've been in California for a long time. We had riots back here, things smoothed out. We had riots here, things smoothed out. So when you're looking at that information from heartmath.org, when one person alone holds it in the highest, that's way more powerful than a lot of people being in fear. So when you don't worry about it, when you're in your timeline and you're saying, I don't even know how this is happening, but that's getting resolved. And that city is finding its way. And they're doing all the things that are necessary to make the best and highest happen for humanity, rather than going into your fear, then you're on the pickleball court. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing that you individually are going to do
Right.
either way. I mean, you're not in Minnesota, it's not affecting you at all. So when you are holding it in prayer, then you're in your own body in power. And your own body, the heart is talking to 50 trillion cells that are going, whew, life is good and we're in a healing mode. And you are not feeling that hard feeling that you were feeling because you're dumping that stuff out of your trunk. You know, this is your trunk. So when you step out of looking at that and worrying about it or getting anxious about it or getting concerned about it, and you're holding it in the highest, you're creating from you within your body, and then you can find your motivation. Then you can find your inspiration. Then you find your way to doing what the great things are that you'll be doing. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Does anybody else have concerns about what's going on in the moment with everything? I mean, it's okay.
No,
mean, it's,
I just try to remind myself that there's an agenda going on, and whatever it is, it's got nothing to do with me. And I just try to stay in a neutral so that I'm not emotionally attached to the wholes, ups, down, right, left, forward, backwards, because everything's constantly changing. It's so easy to get caught up in all of it or choose to step out of it.
exactly. So
And that's
you're
kind of the
staying
only,
in your
that's the
own
only,
game,
kind of like the only thing I can do.
right? But when you're holding it all in prayer, that's a powerful thing to do. It is a powerful thing
Mhm.
to do. I pray all the time. And
Mhm.
I'm telling you, I live a
Mhm.
pretty good life. I pray and
Mhm.
it's creative. When you're praying, you're setting the path for yourself. You're setting the path for whatever it is that you're looking at, whatever you're holding in your prayers. Like when my clients come in, I'm always saying, I'll hold you in my prayers. I'll hold you in the light. I'll do whatever. I see the problem. I'm not ignorant and I'm not looking at it. And a lot of times when people come in and they have their problems, I'm very empathetic. Sometimes I'll have a lot of water in my
Mhm.
eyes, but I'm not landing in their
Mhm.
problems. I see them and I'm assisting with the solutions for the problems. That's my job. In the car analogy, I'm the mechanic. So I'm holding them in the highest. I'm trusting and knowing because when we all go through those hard moments, and all of you have seen this at some point or another, when you've gone through those hard moments, that's when you level up. That's when you get the next part of your power. So when you are holding in the highest, that's good for you. It's good for
Mhm.
everything.
Mhm. By the way, your picture has gone away and there's a fixed picture of you. Like your live is gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
my camera ran out of juice. That's all right. You can still hear me, but I want to say the other thing that you just brought up that I think is important as well. Um, actually watch. Oh, did I hit that? Oh, here's the other
There you
camera.
back.
This is my
Hi.
other camera. Thank you for letting me know. There's very few words that I am really very persnickety about. Caden, what's one of them?
Try.
Mm.
Yep. So when you say I try to, these are
Yeah.
things that are very subtle, but
Mhm.
very, very, very important. So when you say, I try to do whatever, catch yourself when you say that word, because that is a key to what's going on with the kid back there. I'm trying.
Right.
In fact, you can do it yourself and you recognize I'm not really committed to it. Because the two
Correct.
most powerful words ever, and we'll get into this next week, are I am.
Yeah.
And it's holding it. I'm literally doing it. My whole everything is falling apart here now. So when you're saying I try, it's nothing wrong with it. It just is what it is. But you really want to catch it. And then you look at where's my resistance? Where's my lack of commitment? Where is whatever that thing is that I have going on? All right. So nothing
Well,
wrong
yeah,
with
because I even talk to some of, my clients in that sense where I say, you either do or you don't. There is
right,
no trying, right? And so yes, absolutely. Because I'm either doing it or I'm not, and
right.
trying a half-assed version of it. Yes. So I didn't even realize that it came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Thank you for the
It's just one of those things, and there's a few things that I'm very persnickety about, and that's just one of them. So I like it that
Mhm.
you brought it up because I think we all need a reminder of that. You know what I do with my
and
clients
it
sometimes?
and it came out of me so easily that it shouldn't, you know what I mean? Like there was it was an unconscious moment.
Yeah, it's your unconscious
Yeah.
and conscious around it. People will say, in fact, I think you did it once. They'll say the word try, and they'll look at them like, and they look at me like, and then they're like, what? It's like, what did you just say? And then if they're not getting it right, I'll throw my clipboard on the floor and they look at me like, what are you doing? And it's like, try to pick it up. And then they look at me like I'm crazy and they pick it up and it's like, do it or don't. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
You in particular were really cute about that.
Yeah. And it's in that negative, it goes back to that negative self-talk because it's that it integrates and takes away the power of being able to change, shift, move, grow, all those things. Yeah.
Well, another interesting thing about the word try, if people tell you, I'll try to make it, almost always they're not
They're
coming.
not going to make it.
Oh, I'll try. I'll
Not
I'll try. I didn't do it because I tried, So
Right.
every time somebody
It's a
says, I'll try to
scapegoat
make it,
word.
just don't,
Yeah, it's a scapegoat word. It's that back door that's open to escape. Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Anyway, those are things to look at. So I think you guys are clear on your homework, on the things to do this week. If you have any questions during the week, text me and let me know. And also, I've videotaped this. It's still taping, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share it with you. If you have anybody that you think would be interested to take this, like I said before, or I'm going to say goodbye for now, and then I'll stop taping and I'll say this because they don't need to hear.